Good morning and welcome to the Sunday service. This morning we're going to meditate few minutes. After that, Dhamma talk and question and answer. Right now, Subodha is going to lead the meditation.
All right, let's get into a comfortable position. Close our eyes and take 3 long, deep breaths. And now let us cultivate goodwill, loving kindness, metta, beginning with ourselves. This is a sincere wish, a wholesome desire for our true and lasting happiness. We might think to ourselves, may I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free from stress and pain, free from suffering. May I live with a heart and mind unburdened by greed, by aversion, by delusion. May I look after myself with ease. And then we extend our goodwill, our loving kindness to our loved ones, our family, our friends, our mentors, teachers, and guides, those that we love, those that we admire, those that we respect. May they also be happy, peaceful, free from stress and pain, free from suffering. May they live with hearts and minds unburdened by greed, by aversion, by delusion. May they look after themselves with ease. And then we extend our goodwill, our loving kindness to our acquaintances, those that we like but don't know so well. May they also be happy, peaceful, free from stress and pain, free from suffering. May they live with hearts and minds unburdened by greed, by aversion, by delusion. May they always look after themselves with ease. And then we extend our goodwill, our loving kindness to those that we have difficulty getting along with, those that we have difficulty admiring or respecting, even those that may call us enemy. May they also be happy, peaceful, free from stress and pain, free from suffering. May they live with hearts and minds unburdened by greed, by aversion, by delusion. May they look after themselves with ease. And so, in this spirit of admirable friendship with all beings, we extend our metta, our goodwill, our loving kindness out in all directions, in front of us, behind us, to the right and left, above and below, outward into infinity, to all sentient beings everywhere. May we all be happy. May we all be peaceful. May we all be free from stress and pain, free from suffering. May we all live with hearts and minds unburdened by greed, by aversion, by delusion. May we all always look after ourselves with ease. And so now, with our hearts and minds uplifted with the metta that we've cultivated, let us now turn our attention to the breath. Ardent, alert, mindful, setting aside greed and distress with reference to the world. we settle our awareness into the body. Mindful we breathe in, mindful we breathe out. Settling our attention in the body where we feel the breath most easily. Becoming sensitive, feeling the breath coming in and going out. Sensitive to the quality of the breathing, whether the breath be long or short, deep or shallow. We might ask ourselves what kind of breathing is the most easeful right now, the most gratifying, and see how the body responds. Allow the breath to become light and easy, not dragging the breath in or pushing it out, but allowing the breath to become gentle. Breathing in this gentle and easy way, we can stay with the breath, not so easily get caught up in thoughts of the past or of the future, fantasies or concerns. We can be right here in the present moment, abiding peacefully, pleasantly, secluded in body and mind, using the breath to tie together, to join together the body, the heart, and the mind. So let us continue to abide in this breath, breathing in and breathing out mindfully, settling our attention here in the present moment, and returning to it any time the mind wanders away. Well established right here and right now, our minds firm, unwavering, like the flame of a candle, bright and luminous. So let's meditate in this way until we hear the bell.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Subodha, leading the metta meditation. Right now, time for the Dhamma talk. Our speaker today, Sailesh Maharjan, is here. Thank you so much being with us today. So, Sai, you can start your Dhamma talk. I think something.
This one's dead, but I think that one's still not working.
Okay.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Arogya paramalabha santutti paramang dhanang visasa paramanyati nibbanang paramang sukhang. Their Venerable Chief Bhante Santi and other friends in Dhamma, and when Bhante is here, it's always an honor to join this Sunday service at this International Meditation Center, and I hope we are all in a meaningful journey together, don't we? We have a lot of challenges on a daily basis, and as wise individuals, because due to some kind of samsaric habit, perhaps we are exposed to the Buddha's teaching, and Buddha's teaching is rare, right? I think in last meeting we talked about it's very rare to be born during the time of the Buddha, and it's a lot rarer than that to be exposed to the Buddha's teaching. And if we were to remain afloated in this samsara, it's very important that we continue to renew ourselves in this practice. And there are a lot of reminders in Sutta, especially in Majjhima Nikaya and also Anguttara Nikaya, and in Mangala Sutta as well, you see that Buddha mentioned repeated listening to the Dhamma. Dhamma Savana is an auspicious act. It's very important. And Dhamma Sakacha, engaging in discussion, is another important act, right? And Dhamma Manana is another part. It's like reflecting about the Buddha's teaching. So every time I come here, since I've been here for probably a little over a decade now, every time I come here, I myself use this as an opportunity to reflect on the Buddha's teaching. And when I was a monk, it was sometimes not by choice, but you have to listen to the Dhammas. But now it's more like an intentional choice that I have to make. I read about the sutta and I talk about these teachings and have friends, those who are curious and also interested in learning about the Dhamma. So I was reading another text. It's actually by Santi Deva Bodhicharya Avatar Sutta, and it's a little scary to read that part because when I read, it says when you are so if you're in Buddhism, we don't have any savior in our teaching. So we don't go to temple because we are afraid of some kind of power, some kind of creator gods. You know, we believe in karma, we believe in our actions. So it's up to us whether you stay home or you go to temple or you just stay on your phone or practice a few minutes of meditation. It's very, very independent. So the book writes about it's very important for Buddhists to make that deliberate effort to learn and also read about the teaching and also reflect on Buddha's teaching. So today I thought to talk about very simple message from the Dhammapada And in that very first line, I mentioned Arogya Paramalabha. And I believe we all wish for that. It's a free from ailment is the best gift, right? Free from illnesses is the best gift we can have. As I'm old now, so I can feel those aches and pains much more than 10 years back. And that's impermanent, and that's not enough though. But it's a good reminder that we are in this every day, right? Gradually we're aging. And Buddha said, if you are free from illnesses, that is a big blessing. And sometimes people blame, like we talked last time, karma. Oh, I got sick because of my karma. Or sometimes we blame other people. But we forget it's a natural process. Aging is a natural process. So how do we stay healthy? And if you have spoken to people, sometimes we get sick with the same condition, but we take that illness in different ways. So it's not the same. Just like think of, we all are scared of some kind of, let's say, spider or snake or some insects, but we don't respond to those fears the same way because we have a little different approach. The same thing about illness, right? There are people who complain about illness all the time, and people who learn to manage those pain and stress and live with it. So if you think from the Buddhist perspective, like imagine you live a day, in one day you generate so much karma. That's like, there's no way we spend a day without generating karma. So we generate a lot of karma, and that karma is based on what kind of focus, what did you focus on that day. So arogya, free from illness, is a big blessing, and it's up to us. How do we perceive our health and our illnesses? And that's why I thought to talk about this topic, because as in last meeting we also talked that when we think of eating some food, we think about our physical well-being, right? We try to avoid calories, avoid certain nutritional facts, and we try to eat clean, eat healthy. And from Buddhist perspective, we can also do the same about our mental illnesses as well. So what kind of thoughts do you choose? Do you give yourself a break before you move on to having that thought and contemplate on it, right? If you are upset about a person, do you have some kind of judgment in your own kindness to other people? If you want to be kind and if you want to show compassion, shouldn't it be free from condition, free from filtering out certain individuals? So we can pause momentarily and look at those thoughts and try to have those thoughts that would benefit us, that would help us to stay healthy. So that's like a physical and mental well-being. And the second line is Viswasa Paramanyati. The best relative you can have is trust. And it's about communication, it's about relationship, and it's about how you see people. So I want to share a story. The Buddha had a physician. His name was Jivaka. And Jivaka, before he became a doctor, he had to do the final exam. It was a final test, not like just an exam. He had a final test. He studied about medicine. It's Ayurveda, right? The science of health. So he studied about Ayurveda. It was in his youth, very young, before he treated the Buddha. This is a long time back. And he was supposed to do the final exam. Went to the mentor and asked, hey, I'm ready to do the final test. What's the test? And the mentor said, very simple. You need to go find a plant that's useless. How hard that could be, right? So his task was to go find a plant, an herb, some kind of herb that is useless. There's no use for it. And he was happy, like, that's it? Yeah, that's it. That should be an easy task. And he went out, started looking he took his time. That's a very easy task. So I don't need much time. He took his time to relax and started his assignment. And he went from, of course, his garden, his yard, everywhere he could go. And every plant he picked, it was to his surprise, he found some kind of use of it. And now he started feeling like this is not an easy task. He kept looking for, now a week passed, a month passed. He couldn't find a plant that was useless. He found like there's always some kind of use of this plant. I'm going to fail this exam, right? And defeated after a few months later, he went back to his mentor and I said, I don't think I'm going to pass the exam because I couldn't find a single plant that has no use. Every plant I go to, there is some use. I find every plant I found that they have some benefit. So I don't know. I need a little more direction. And the teacher said, okay, you graduated, you passed the exam. So he was surprised, and he also learned that, and this was during the Buddha's time, and Buddha also used that analogy, a situation, to teach that every person is useful to some extent. There aren't any person that lacks, that has no quality that you can look into. And that goes very well with the book that I'm reading these days, Bodhisattva idea, right? There is a Buddha in everybody. And when we try to practice loving kindness, I hope that that becomes our practice. You know, we try to, it's easy for others, for us to tell others, hey, forgive this, forget about it, let's move on, don't hold on to these grudges. But when it comes to our own practice, it becomes harder. It becomes harder to trust, especially the trust part. And maybe that's why Buddha mentioned, you know, trust is the biggest relationship you can have. That's the best relationship you can have. And it comes down to sometimes teacher and student, right? Bhantes and Bhante students, the trust. And sometimes it's husband and wife, the partners. There are things that is said and that was understood. So trust is a huge part. And when we are affected by a lot of negative ideas, like our anger, we all have biases. Anytime we make decision, if you study Buddhism, you'll find there are 4 biases we're always trying to fight. There's some kind of liking, right? There's a chanda, and there is also a rati, as like an attachment or some kind of desire for, and those are some kind of anger, disliking part, and ignorance. So we are governed by these 4 extremes or biases all the time, and it's hard to subside. And when you try to practice loving kindness, when you try to practice compassion, I hope you will remember there is a Buddha in everybody. And we try to see that it's not necessarily forgetting that the person has weaknesses, but our job, like a lot of the time people think when I say, may you be well, happy, and peaceful, you're hoping that the person will be well, happy, and peaceful. You did not understand any of the loving kindness. That's a mistaken way of practicing loving kindness. And there's one sutta in Khuddaka Nikaya talks about what happens when you practice loving kindness. Very enticing. You sukhang supati, sukhang patibujjati. You sleep well, you wake up well, right? You don't have nightmares, and napapakang supinang pasati. You will be likable by humans. You will be likable by non-humans. So all these benefits are related to loving kindness. And there's one part that sometimes people misunderstand, that you will not be hurt by weapons or fire or hurt by these objects. And one person that this is when I was monk asked, like, you know, when there's a lot of war happening in Sri Lanka, his mistaken idea was like, I'm going to practice loving kindness every day, even I'm living in the war zone, so I will not get killed by a bullet. No. You have to stay on the safe side. You cannot go to the war zone thinking that loving kindness will protect me, because that's a misconception. The Buddha used this term like a fire and weapon to tell the practice is for yourself. This practice is not for others. You cannot say, may you be well, happy, and peaceful, expecting those people to be well, happy, and peaceful. You're trying to peace yourself. So when I practice loving kindness, there's a Pali term, right? Ahang awero homi, abhyapajo homi. May I be well, may I be free from illnesses. And you repeat that to my family, my friends, all those individuals. You're trying to express that same loving kindness and compassion to other people. You have to take a pause and think, I'm doing that for my own well-being. My kindness will not benefit those individuals. My kindness will benefit me. And hopefully it would inspire them to practice the same approach. right? Only non-humans can receive those kind of blessings, unfortunately. And that's very small category. And if you follow Buddhist cosmology, there is a group of living beings, those who are in transitional phase, right? Part of the Tupajivi, they are the only one who can benefit from your blessings. Humans, we can show that appreciation, we can show that loving kindness, but you cannot benefit. And there's another event that happened, a family who's trying to do a blessing for their child who is living in New York. So on birthday, parents came, had a big event in temple, and asked, we're trying to bless my daughter. And I should have slowed down myself. I said, like, when did the child pass away? And then, no, she's still alive. She's in New York. Oh, so I told, you cannot transfer merit to somebody who is living. You have to encourage them to do by themselves. So loving kindness, any practice you do as humans, it's for you. It's a very selfish part of Buddhism. And I like that. Because if we were all to be selfish, we'd be in a much peacer world, right? We all practice that. So this kindness can be the foundation for trust and relationship, right? We want that. And in the same spirit, if you want to think of establishing good relationship, Buddhism can offer many other ideas. I'll just tell one more. And whether you are Mahayana follower or Theravada follower, we all try to look into some qualities that would refine our samsaric life. And one of them is paramitas. Right? You heard of that? It's a perfection. Before you become enlightened one, you have to cultivate, you have to deliberately, do something about it. It's not just praying, it's not about sitting, you're practicing. One of the paramitas, my favorite paramita is khanti. It could be translated tolerance. So what is that a better term? Or endurance?
Endurance is a good one.
And the endurance is a good term. So endurance, right? Being okay with the differences. We are in a society, we are in a time period, simple ideas of like your background, your skin color, your affiliation to certain institution is no go. It's a cause for conflict, endurance. That is such a big problem, and that's what scares us. I was attending an event yesterday, and my friend, we went to a doctor program together, shared that sometimes I feel alone in the crowd, and I'm so uncertain about tomorrow, and that is because of his background, and that has become many people's life, unfortunately. And if Buddhism can offer anything, live alone, the big institution, but in at least the small group like family, friends, classroom, community, one thing is having that endurance and accepting people as they are. That's a very tough task. So that would hopefully make us a little more compassionate and selfishly be kind to others. You're being kind to others so you don't harvest, you don't have negative thoughts, you don't have strong emotions that could ruin your whole day. And I'll quickly move to the second last one is santuti paramang dhanam. The contentment is the best wealth you can have. And there's no way you can have enough, right? There's an analogy, I might say it wrongly, but I'll share with you. The guy wanted to find the biggest orange from the orchard. So he went in and he started looking for the largest one, right? He picked one and he said, okay, this is very big. As he was walking out of the orchard, then he realized, wait, there's another one I see, which is bigger than that in my hand, right? And he dropped the one from his hand and picked the new one. Same thing happened after a few steps. And he realized, like, this is endless. He's picking so many oranges, trying to figure out which one is the largest. At one point, he had to convince himself, like, this is the largest one. I'm getting out. So that's what contentment is. Sometimes people ask, how much is enough? Well, it's very subjective, right? What is enough? And people sometimes sacrifice all other means, all other source of their joy and pleasure. I'm talking about family, relationship, good time with friends, good time with family members, or even like a solitary time, not doing much. And we sacrifice so much because we're chasing some kind of a dragon that doesn't exist. And we find like there's no way to quench that thirst. And Buddha gave simple answer. Well, you know what is enough for you. You know what should be your limit. And I did a workshop last month for children, and I try to tell them the difference between your needs and wants, right? And this is not my original idea, but your needs are what is necessary for your daily basis, whether it is food, drink, transportation, so on. Wants are something that you can spare, that you can live without, right? You go to a store, and I share this analogy, like you go to an iPhone store, Apple store, and there are so many varieties that you can pick from, and you have a limited budget, and there's the good test for yourself, right? What is your need and what is your want? How higher in that scale you want to go, so you can decide. It's very important reflection. Take it and you pause. Does it make my life easier or make it a little more complicated? Adds more burden or makes it a little easier? So that could be one way to look at, contentment is very important, and sometimes people misunderstand that simplicity, like those who live a simple life, that is easy. Now, some people lead a simple life by choice. Some people live a simple life because they don't have options. So when you have a lot of options and you choose to live a simple life, that's the best one. Now, that's the contentment part. And the last part is, as I always like to share, we have been in this samsara for a long time. As Buddhists, I believe in so many lives has passed, and we must have seen the Buddha once. Must have passed by the Buddha's temple. Probably we were one of those arrogant Brahmin, didn't bother to enter and say hi to the Buddha. But a time passed by, and we realized, hey, we missed the train that day, and we don't want to miss that again. We had some good karma, and we had some disposition. That's very important. Now, disposition, another important. The last term I shared is Nibbanang Paramang Sukham. The appeasement of our disposition is the best bliss. That's a Nibbana, right? Enlightenment. And it's possible, but not by prayers, not by wishing for, or not by lighting candles to the Buddha or offering flowers. It's through action, it's through reflection, it's through meditation. So that is important part. So in that journey, we do need to accumulate, we do need to have some dispositions. And that disposition is transferable. Now, that is, again, if you believe in karma, and this is about one of the monks who lived over 100 years, Bantes might be familiar with, Balangoda Ananda Maitri Bante. He lived, I think, 107, Bante? 102. So he lived over 100 years, and in his 90s, he came to the United States. And I met the guy who taught him how to use computer. So he was very curious how to use computer, and I think he's in Monterey. So I met him, who taught Bante how to use computer. He's told me this story. Bante was 90. So when you're 90, like you have a Bante, you don't need to learn computer. What are you doing? So he had the same attitude. Bante was inquiring, I need to know how to type, how to do, operate this. The young man, very kind, and taught Bante how to use a computer. But he did ask, Bante, it's too late. Isn't it too late for you to learn computer? And Bante responded, and most of Sri Lankan believe Bante has attained some kind of enlightenment phase. So it's very calm and very deep knowledge and reflective monk. And very big nose. So if you see a big nose, so they could be unique in personality. So Bante respond to his question like, well, this is not for only this life. I'm creating some that I can take with. So 90 is not late for Bante. So you can learn skills. That is the disposition that you need. And disposition is just like, type of food you take. Sometimes people think like, hey, certain food is good, but in moderation, isn't it? Right? That same food can turn into poison. I cannot name one, but even water, I tell you that. Water is good, but if you overconsume, it can kill you. Right? So the same tool that is necessary for our survival can become a problem. Think of that about dispositions, sankhara, the Pali term. Sankhara is important. We need to have this kusala sankhara. We have to kusala, the wholesome practice that helps to reduce the cycle. And you heard about offering, you heard about dana, generosity, because when you offer, you get merit. In Buddhism, we call punya or pinna. And that's good, because that's how you stay away from falling into a deeper or miserable lives. But that itself becomes a problem, because of those merit, you continue to be reborn again and again. So sankhara should be chosen carefully, and we have to choose those sankhara carefully, and that's why the Ananda Maitri Bante's comment, the sankhara that he was trying to accumulate is going to help him in next life. And that's how I see. We all are in this journey. We are born as humans. Like we might have seen the Buddha, we missed the opportunity. But now we're trying to make a step closer to the enlightenment. And when you do that, you don't have a lot of time. There's one sutta, I wish I have a little more time, but I'll tell you, this sutta tells you, do your math to find out how much time is left. I'm not going to look at people, those are over 60. Let's look at the young people. So if you have 1 year, you have 365 days, right? You do your math times your number of years that you're expecting to live. For some reason, when I do this activity with my students, I always come with, I'm going to live up to 76. I don't know why. But I might live a little more or less. But when you do your math, I have about roughly, I think 14,000 days left. That's not a lot for me. So if you're over 60, you know what I'm talking about. It's very limited time. And within that limited time, 1/3, bad news, you spend sleeping or more. Like 1/3 of that time is spent sleeping, because you have to rest and recover from all kind of injuries. And the remaining third of the time we have to spend so wisely. I drove about hour and a half, and I have to drive back, so that is wasted, sort of, right? And do the math for every day commute you spend. Do the math that you have to do some mundane stuff, using bathroom, taking shower. Okay, they're important, but it still takes time. So if you look at the numbers, there may be, in a year, you might have about so many hours left to do something deliberately, intentionally, which will contribute to approaching this journey to enlightenment. And these kind of practice, coming to Sunday service and talking and asking questions, listening to Dhamma talk, listening to Buddha's teaching, hopefully helps you to use your time more wisely. And when you start, just like exercising, when you start lifting weight, you spend 30 minutes, 1 hour in the gym, and you build a little bit of strength. And it's not only, nobody goes to the gym so you can lift 100 pounds. I don't think so, unless you are an athlete. But that strength helps you when you're falling, when you have to hold something. Same thing applies to practicing, learning about Dhamma. Right now you're learning, you're reading a book, you're practicing loving kindness for 20 minutes, you're meditating for 10 minutes. Seems like a very short time. As you do more, as you build that memory of your skill more, you can spend more time engaging in reflection, engaging in kind action. So every day, instead of spending only 30 minutes, it might become 5 hours you spend very mindfully. You spend very kindfully, right? That, I don't know if that's a term, kindfully, so that sounds nice. So you spend time showing compassion, being mindful, and your time is well spent. And what I'm talking about is you're collecting drops that is necessary for enlightenment. It doesn't happen. There is no place. Again, another bad news, right? There is no place that you go, this is enlightenment. It's a journey. Every step counts. Every day counts. So you're collecting that drop by drop, Udabindu nipatena kramasa purite ghata. I love Sanskrit, so it says, by droplet by droplet, your pot will be filled. It's the same concept. So that you're collecting this wholesome disposition, gradually fill, and that's where this spark happens. And enlightenment is actually, it's a mind moment. It's not a tedious, long, painful journey. It's actually a spark. It's almost, when you meditate, I'm sure you have moments where you're paying attention to your pain, you're paying attention to your breathing, your sensation. I'm sure you have this flash of wisdom. So, you realize how you are able to not judge about the pain and be aware about this pure experience. So that's a very momentary enlightenment. And in Buddhist analogy, it's like you saw the whole city when the lightning hit, right? At that very split second, you get a good glimpse of it. And enlightenment is similar, But this time, the lightning will not go away. It stays bright. And that's where the transformation happens. And you might remain the same. You might have the same aging process, but what changes is how you perceive the world. You are enlightened. That moment does not reverse. It's a irreversible moment of awakening. So that is the best gift we can have as humans. And please keep collecting your droplets as you continue in this journey, and keep reflecting whenever you can, using compassion, using kindness, and also using mindfulness to make the best out of your time here in as humans. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sai. And it's time for the question and answer or comment.
Yes, Bhante.
I really like the way you distinguish between punya and kusala, but it doesn't mean I don't agree with others. But like I really like how you differentiate between punya and kusala. That's my point.
Thank you, Bhante. Yes, sir.
Thank you for your Dhamma talk today, because these things have been on my mind. So I don't know how well this works. But I love that you give a value to something so subtle as taking care of yourself, which is all we really can do. And that we can adjust in relation to whatever comes to us in life, with our relation to it can be very good, very contented. And some who want to do service out there with big acts may not understand how valuable that subtlety is, because we're demonstrating to others that cannot do so at this time, or may not be able to conceive of it, that this life can be lived. And we that's a service to humanity. We demonstrate it can be done. And I'm so grateful for Sangha, because it lifts everybody up and allows us to do all of this. Thank you so very much for your talk.
Thank you for your comment. Yes.
Thank you for the talk. Could you elaborate on Kanti a little more? Because I find it to be a very interesting term, but I've seen lots of various definitions because it's kind of an elusive term in English.
Yes. So it's one of the perfection, right? The endurance or tolerance, and in Buddhist term, it's the tolerance toward the differences. That's what Kanti is, able to take. And the next level is able to even take the discrimination toward yourself. So there are some extreme examples, like the Buddha would endure so much pain for the sake of long-term good. Like when people are trying to hurt him, this is before enlightenment. So able to endure. And that's another reason that sometimes Buddhism is criticized, like, hey, you're not supposed to hurt, you're not supposed to yell, you're supposed to be, very tolerating individuals. And I take it as you're now talking about only one side. That's a compassion. So Kanti, coming back to Kanti, is like being able to accept the differences. Like it could be sometimes difference-wise in religious terms, they talk, some monks are senior, some monks are junior, some monks are enlightened, some are not. So that can lead to the counter. We're trying to fight one of the kilesa, that is the mana is like conceit. So like there's some kind of a measurement. So we measure like you are less important than me. That's one way of comparing, right? That's one mana. And that's called Hinamana. And sometimes we look at, you are greater than me. So you try to put yourself down and others upper. So that's one kind of conceit. And the other one is like equal. So that is an obstacle for enlightenment. When you try to subside, you accept the person as they are. And in practice, it would be thinking of the wholesome and unwholesome part, right? When there is gain, we're likely to elated and happy. So that is, you're forgetting the endurance. And there's the opposite side. That could be loss. Are you able to endure those losses? And there are four pairs, like happiness and sadness, gain and loss, fame and ill fame, right? And praise and criticism. So when you see those four sides, opposite sides, most of the time we like the positive ones. When negative one happens, we lose the balance. So Kanti goes very well with the upeksha, right? Equanimity. So that is necessary practice when you are aspire to become a Buddha. And that can, you start from just by saying it. That's like a paramita, right? Just you mentally you repeat, I'm going to practice endurance, and you take the next level. You do by action. That's like upaparamita, and paramatta paramita is you would go to very extreme like the Buddha did, tolerate even physical and mental torture toward yourself with indifference, because you are trying to achieve that enlightenment. I don't know if that helps. Okay. Yes.
I just want to follow to that question. By the way, thank you for the talk. Thank you for the talk. But is there a limit to enduring? So, Kanti, I believe the word is Kanti, right? You're okay with the indifferences, right? But you endure, but then is there a point where you just say no more? For example, right now, what's happening, right, with politics?
Yes.
I have friends my whole life, and some they're okay with what's happening politically, right? And they're friends, we're fine, we're cool, we don't talk about that. But even outside, every now and then, you start hearing some things, and it's like, okay, right? People been quiet since 2016, and then now it's like, okay, we keep taking it, but even like that was an example, but just in general, like how long does someone take until say no, right? Don't just talk all over me.
Yes. That's I want to clarify. So when I say about the endurance from the Buddhist term, that is purely in the journey for enlightenment. So the path for enlightenment is slightly different than more like a, let's say, in Pali called Nibbana. The Pali term is like there's a path for enlightenment that requires these qualities, but everyday life, now that is up to you. So you have to understand how far I can take. And there are other ways to look at it. You can also think of what is it making hard for me to take. So let's say friends, those who have extreme belief, extreme ideas, right now it's very common, right? You see those changes. How does that affect you? And as long as you can endure, you can tolerate, the difference is that doesn't destroy your peace. So that's one thing I tell. Yes, you should. And you don't want to be too compassionate without thinking the wisdom part. Like that's, people sometimes take it for granted. I will just tolerate everything. I will just let people do or say everything and not make an effort. Buddhism never talks in that sense. So I'll give you one simple story. This is during the 2nd century BC, when Buddha passed away. 300 years passed, and there were 6 monks who were over 80 in their life. And a lot of monks that time, now 300 years after, Buddhism started to decline. A lot of people brought many ideas, non-Buddhist ideas, non-Buddhist practice. One extreme example, there were a group of so-called monks. They put the robe on the floor and let the ladies dance. They're like strippers, right? They had this like whole party, and a lot of monks. So when you normalize, you know the example of frog, right? You put a frog in a pot. If it is hot water, it will jump out right away. If you start to boil the water, the frog will adapt to the climate. And that's what we are seeing now. It's sort of like we're in the boiling slowly, and we take that next level, right? That's a problem. And these monks who saw this, it took a while. It took about over 80 to 100 years time to someone to speak up, because monks were gradually declining and doing these non-monastic activities. A lot of people say, that's new normal now. That's how it is now. But these monks stood up and they fought against the whole community. They stood up and they assembled, and that's when they did the second Buddhist council. They refined it. They kicked out over 50,000 monks from the Buddhist tradition so they can again reestablish, hey, this is not good. And it was a big loss for Theravada, and that's when Mahayana trend started. It has that origin. So if you look at the, it makes a huge noise when you try to fight. Now, all those monks, over 80, they were all enlightened. They were enlightened monks. You would think enlightened monks are calm and peace, just like the Buddha. They don't say anything. No. When you act from compassion and wisdom, you take action. You don't just like let things happen. And you take action. I like to remind you, or everybody and myself, like when you take action, it should be out of compassion, out of, good intention. It's not out of malice, out of like anger, I don't want you to say these things because that's so and so. Versus like, that's hurtful. You should not be doing that. You're taking action, stopping violence, stopping pollution, corruption. Out of this intention is always welcome. And you have a lot of those kind of Sabbakami, those are the names. One of the senior monk was Sabbakami. He was 120 years old. And 120 years old monk, he fought for Buddhism because the monastic tradition was going haywire. So we do have that kind of examples enlightened ones fight for, but if you can, speak up, but always check, am I speaking from the subject or my personal gain, or because I have good intention? And even Buddha would do that. He would reprimand people with good intention. It's not because he's angry. He wanted to make sure that the person doesn't suffer or continue doing the same mistakes. So with good intention, please fight. Yes.
Thank you, Sai, again for always giving a great talk. I feel like when you speak, it helps me put into words the things that I'm experiencing in my practice and applying everything that I'm learning. And a big way I've noticed that is that like my compassion, my tolerance, my endurance, right, has grown. Just gardening, and what I used to be very fearful of spiders. So my automatic thoughts were like, kill this spider, but following the precept, following the teachings, I'm able to relax, calm down, slow down, and see this spider for what it is, just trying to live as I am and having a lot of compassion for this. This is just a small example, right?
That's wonderful,
but
yeah.
This is just a small example of how I'm applying this in my life, and I just thank you for helping me put words into what I'm experiencing.
Thank you. What's your name again?
Oh, Tiff.
Tiff. Thank you, Tiff. So here's I'm a professor, right? So I have an assignment for you. So your next assignment, it sounds like you are doing the first level of practice. It's helping you. I love that you are more mindful, more kind, even toward these small living beings. The next one is recruit somebody. Find somebody to inspire in the same journey, so that when you practice precepts, we call about that there's a 3 tiers. The first one is what you're doing. The next one is you would now encourage somebody to do similar acts, and it will build a community. So hopefully you will find another person, right? So inspire those individuals. Yes, Russell.
Yes, thank you for your talk. Yeah, I was confused, and then you kind of clarified it, but I'm still not quite sure. You said loving kindness, you cannot really give that to other people, right? You say that basically it's directed mainly towards yourself, that by your example, then maybe they learn something, but you cannot really transfer loving kindness to other people. Is that what you said?
Yes. Because if you look at how loving kindness is prescribed, it's a type of meditation. So one of the contemplation meditation, it's prescribed by character. So if you look at people, some people are high in anger. Now, when I say anger, it's called dosa charita. It's not necessarily means that you are always angry, but the person has that more tendency with the anger than the opposite. So there are three pairs, raga, dosa, moha, and prajna, saddha, and vitaka. So those are three pairs, and this loving kindness meditation is prescribed to people, those who have trouble with too much strong emotions. And when they go to the Buddha and said, hey, you can start with loving kindness, it helps. And it is for yourself. Now, well wishes, it could. Now, so going back to what I shared about the family who wanted to do blessing for daughter in New York, what I encouraged to do was, as you do these services, you invited monks to chanting, please let the daughter know you're doing something like this for your birthday. So when the daughter knows, and I ask if she can take 5 minutes break from whatever she's doing and join us. Even she cannot be here in California, join us through, I don't know, phone, or just like take a pause and give yourself that break. So that could help, but all the practice that we do, loving kindness, at least from what I understand in Theravada, the practice is we're trying to help ourselves to not to have strong emotions, right? Not to have strong hatred or discrimination toward others, and that benefit is for you. So when you look at that Mettanisangsasa Sutta, it doesn't talk about the other person will benefit. It's the doer, the practitioner, who benefits from that loving kindness, and that can happen for that individual as well. That person can start doing the same thing for themselves.
So when you do loving kindness, it can be directed toward people who are living or people who have passed.
Now, in Abhidhamma, loving kindness is defined as limitless. So you can expand the scope of loving kindness to people who are living. And in actually Karanimetta Sutta, it's a very nice line there. Sambhavesi. So those who are born and unborn. So you include even them. And it's interesting because Buddha is trying to teach people the counter practice of hatred, right? Hatred is so powerful. It can destroy, what's happening in the country. And you also know from some of the historical events, hatred and dislike towards certain people can destroy a lot. It could create a genocide. It could totally wipe out, a quarter or half of the humans. So it's very powerful, and there are a lot of stories like that in the Buddha's time. And Buddha had one. He had one person, and I don't know if you know, Devadatta, right? His own brother-in-law, who continued to follow him lives after lives. And it's interesting how powerful that ambition was. Buddha was aspiring to become the Buddha. Devadatta was aspiring to hurt the Buddha. So he continued to follow for many lives. So loving kindness, that's where we cannot fall on that trap. It comes so long. It follows. And if you have time, please look into this Dhammapada. There's a nice story. I don't want to take time, but the story is about how many lives did it take for somebody to get out of this hatred. And that's where Buddhism very emphasize practice loving kindness. You don't so you can learn not to hate somebody. Yes, so that.
Thank you again for your wonderful talk. And just to expand on that, as you're saying, the loving kindness for other people and stuff, it builds up your own muscle and your relationship with them that may turn into action that will help them.
Yes, thank you, Sardar. I know we took longer than normal, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Sai. We will start if you have question, we can ask later, okay? After we can chant the page 4 and page 10. After that, we have tea and something else. I will explain later after chanting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato
Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa.
Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam
Saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami.
Sixteen numbers, I vow to save them all. Dearly vengeance are inexhaustible, I vow to give them all. Dharma days are limitless, I vow to save them all. Buddha's way is supreme, I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fearstruck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief.
Amen.
Thank you again for everybody. Thank you, Sai. It's a wonderful Dhamma talk. And I know you have people have a lot of questions. Even I have a lot of questions. I will ask later. So, few things I have announcement today. The coming Sunday, the 17th, we are going to celebrate the Ulambana service. Please come and join. We invite we have the Sanghadana. We invite for the around 12 monks. Maybe 12, maybe 10, maybe 13, 14, who knows? We don't know. And we have lunch also for everybody. All the people can come and eat. We have all kind of food, Thai food, Sri Lankan food, Vietnamese food, veggie, non-veggie, everything. Please come and join. And the 17th of the coming Sunday, 10 o'clock, we don't have meditation. Okay, 10 o'clock, no meditation. Just come 11 o'clock. You can come even 10 o'clock and just help with us to prepare everything. Please don't bring anything. We are preparing everything. So you don't have to bring anything. Just come and sit here, enjoy the ceremony. After that, go and eat. Best thing. Thank you again. So I have a couple of announcements right now also. There are two people's birthday today, including Mr. Nam. I think Nam's birthday is last 7th of the August. And happy birthday, Nam. And we have cake also. And I think we have another birthday is John's birthday. Ah.
It's August 30th.
13, eh?
30th.
August 3rd?
30th.
It's okay, no problem. We will celebrate.
Oh, now you're celebrating.
We have cake also, birthday cake. Please enjoy the tea and cake today. Thank you again for everybody. Please come and join next Sunday around 11 o'clock or 10:30, even 10 o'clock doesn't matter. Please come and join. Again, I want to say thank you so much. Yesterday, our members here cleaning lot of backyard and front yard, everything. They work at least 3-4 hours. And not only that, I want to say thanks Sada and Kashanti. They cleaned all those things, all the brass, yes. And they took back home and they clean and they bring. Thank you again. It looks like your previous job. I remember. I remember you guys doing earlier time, 1994. Yes. When Ram Karna was here, yes. So thank you again for us. Please enjoy your tea and the cake. Again, happy birthday, Nam. And I really appreciate about Nam's help to the temple for the, not only our temple, everywhere. He's helping so many people, so many ways, sending money, sending gifts, go to different temples. He's such a bodhisattva. So you got a lot of blessings. You got a lot of blessing now, and we wish you a good health for you. Thank you again for everybody. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.